All right, in today's video, we're going to talk about things that give buyers and their agents the ick about your house. Let's be honest, everybody wants a perfect house, but that's not reality. However, there are things that you can do to prepare your house to sell that will not make people feel the ick factor. What do I mean by that? Maybe you've heard of that term, but it's kind of when they see it, they go, ugh, ick. So let's avoid these if at all possible. If you're getting your house ready for market, these are 5 things that I recommend you do prior to getting your home on the market. The first one is go around and look at all your windows and make sure there are not foggy windows, broken seals. They look like little speckles sometimes of dirt on your window, and if you try to clean it, it won't clean itself off because it's actually between the window pane. Sometimes it's very extreme and you can barely see through the window, and other times it's just kind of starting. Either way, it gives us the ick that it's time to replace those windows. But here's the good news. You don't have to replace a window. In most cases, it's just aesthetic. But you can hire a company to just replace the glass. You don't need to do the entire window. But if you leave it the way it is, the buyer is going to, go after you for an entire window or 2 or 3, depending on how many you have that are starting to fog up. But it will actually give the buyer the feeling that the house is needing all new windows, when in fact you just have to redo the glass in a few that may need it. So look at your glass, your windows, and determine if any of them are fogging up or starting to fog up, and get the glass replaced. So much cheaper and economical than actually having to negotiate with the buyer on replacing windows. The second one is your furnace. If your furnace is not brand new or newer, oftentimes when we go into the garage or wherever the furnace is and see the furnace, we kind of look around for labels to find out just how old that furnace is. Buyers care about systems and the age of them, but more importantly, how does it look? If it's been serviced regularly, then usually there is a record on the furnace of how often and when the furnace gets serviced. There's usually a little area that the person who is servicing your furnace will write down the date of the last servicing. If we don't see that, or we see worse, there's a lot of gunk in and around the furnace, and you can tell, especially on those older furnaces, that it looks like it hasn't been serviced in a while, then usually it feels like, oh boy, how old is this system and how many thousands of dollars is it going to take to replace it? Instead, you could get your furnace serviced well before you put it on the market for probably under $150. Have a service record, they clean it, they service it, they make it look and feel brand new, and then you've got a nice little, contractor who is willing to sign off that they serviced it and that it is clean and operable, and the buyer can't pick at you for that. Number 3, and this is a big one, is your roof. You might have a roof that has plenty of life in it, but if there's a ton of moss on your roof, your gutters are full, there's, leaking water coming out of your gutters, or there's valleys that are full of leaves, it is a total ick for the buyers. They oftentimes feel like that roof is at the end of its life when it very well could just have many of years of life, but you're not showing it in its best condition. It's really important before you put your house on the market to clean off your roof. Simple moss treatments, gutter cleaning, maybe even treating it if it needs a little bit of help really goes a long ways. You don't want to give the buyer or the buyer's agent the feeling that your roof is ancient or that it has not been cared for. Number 4, the front door. I know it sounds simple, but when we walk up to a front door as an agent with our client, we are often assessing quickly what is the condition of this house. If the front door has a lack of stain or paint and it has seen better days, worse yet, it's filthy dirty, hasn't been cleaned in years, or the hardware looks pretty rough, it's automatically feeling like the minute we walk in the door, we can assume that this place hasn't been cared for. Now, I know that seems pretty judgmental, but hey, we're in the business of selling your house for top dollar, and we want to make sure that it doesn't give us the ick when somebody shows up at your front door. We want to feel like it's a pretty picture. So go out to your front door, look at everything around it. Is it clean? Are all the leaves and cobwebs and dirt off of the windows and the door? And, that front mat, if you have one, is it cleaned off? Just really take a good hard look at that front, wash the windows, really make it appealing and clean when somebody walks up, because that is your first impression. All right, the last one, and while it seems minor, is baseboards. That's right, those little trim pieces that are at the footing of the walls matter. Why do they matter? Because nothing says more of an ick then when those things haven't seen paint since maybe it was originally built, they're nicked up, they're dinged, they've got scratches, and the seams need to be caulked or painted, and they just look rough. Usually that is the number one sign for us realtors when we walk in a house to see how well a house has been maintained. And it's a simple thing. It doesn't mean that your house is falling apart, but it's one of those things that when they're freshly painted or just clean, then we know that the rest of the house feels good. But those baseboards take a beating. That's why they're baseboards. They're around your feet, they're around your pets, and years of wear and tear can really take a toll on the way they look. So clean them up, paint them, caulk them, make them look nice and pretty. Just take a nice little wet cloth and run it on the top line where a lot of the dust collects. It's a simple thing to do. A lot of people don't do it, and it gives us the ick. Well, thanks so much for sticking around to hear about all 5 icks. There probably is more, but those are the 5 things that always seem to come to mind when we're walking through houses that we try to tell sellers, please do these things so that you don't give somebody else the ick. We want people to be attracted to your house and say, ooh, this feels great.